So let's talk about home renovation and repairs. Have you ever started a project that you really had no business doing? I've had this experience a few times. Halfway through, I usually discover that I don't have the right tools, so I have to go back and buy them. Parts get broken between the store and the house as I cram the wrong thing into the back seat of my Civic Hybrid. Sometimes I just do not have the physical ability to do it right. I have lupus and am 5'7", so frequently I just do not have the hand strength or upper body strength, or I am too short or sometimes too tall, or the space is really cramped and I just don't fit. And these projects never fail to take way longer to get done than I thought they would. By the end, I have spent far more time than a professional would have taken. It ends up costing me more than if I had just called it a professional. Still isn't done quite right. And both I and my husband are miserable. Well, let's talk about baking. On more than one occasion, I have taken on a really ambitious baking project, usually after seeing a really nice pastry in a store, but thinking it seemed overpriced. And like with the home improvement project, I was missing a special tool or ingredient. I would then spend hours or even days hunting this specialty item down. Then I would work in my kitchen, but it never failed to get too hot or too cold in there. So the fats would be melting on the counter, or the yeast would never quite activate. And then the frosting would either be too stiff or too gushy. So in the end, usually I would produce something palatable, but that looked like a mess. And usually by the time all the ingredients and special tools were accounted for, it cost more than that too expensive, professionally baked item. And it cost me a lot of time and misery along the way. Plus, I now had one more tool in my tool drawer that was good for making exactly one recipe that I was not likely to ever take on again. There's something in the American culture that drives us to take on work that we are not good at. We are ingrained with this rugged individualism philosophy, but it is not healthy. It doesn't get things done well, and it is not Christian. It is a denial of the fact that we are many parts, but all one body, as Paul tells us in today's epistle. As Christians, we are called to stick in our own lanes rather than taking on tasks that we are not called to do, that we do not have the gifts to do. We are called upon to value our own gifts, but as Paul says, not to think of yourself more highly than you ought to think. We are called upon to appreciate and value the gifts of others. In today's world, this is a radical thought. In God's kingdom in heaven, the congressperson is respected and valued for what they contribute to the greater good, but equally respected and valued is the waitress. On earth, we are called to similarly value one another and treat one another with dignity and respect. Not to treasure the congressman such that long after he has left the job he only held for 2 years, he is provided for, but look down upon the waitress such that even while holding the job and putting in 40 hours or more a week, she cannot pay for a roof over her head or food on the plates of her children. Rather, we are called to treasure one another equally and with equity, to appreciate what each person brings to the table and make sure that the needs of all are provided for. If we have the grace to preach, then we are called upon to preach. If we have the grace to engineer, then we are called upon to engineer. But we are also called upon to let the baker bake and the plumber plumb, and to value this work and make sure they are compensated for it. Amen.